Oh, gee. So we went to Disneyland this past, D23 weekend, and you haven't been to the park in a long time, right? Since like
Yeah.
what, March or May or something, right?
May, yeah, it's been a few months.
Since May, okay. And since then, there's been quite a few things that have come out at the park, such as the new Pirate audio animatronics, Soarin Over America, and then the new Smugglers Run stuff. I've experienced the Smugglers Run, the new version, twice now, but both were the same destination. So I haven't seen the other destinations besides the one that we experienced. So today we are going to go over and get our thoughts on these three things because it's funny, these things come out and then people talk about them for like a day or so, and then it just kind of disappears. No one says anything, right? So I want to start off, OG, with the with the Pirate audio animatronic. Now, this video I have here is courtesy by Mr. Daps. And I wanted to get more so of just the Pirate himself, right? Because we had a lot of talk when the Pirate first came out. The WDI did not do this Pirate justice at all. They had a very up close zoom in shot on its face and showcasing the technology that they were so proud to use and were impressed by, thinking that everybody else were going to be impressed. Well, nobody was impressed because it looked like if people kept comparing it to the Frozen projection faces, even though this is a different technology. So very interesting. So, usually you do want to reserve judgment until you see it in person. Now, some people can't see it in person, unfortunately, but I had the chance to experience this. So I'm going to play this analogy. We kind of talk about this and what your thoughts were. I'm going to kind of just lower this right here. But OG, here we go. See, so this is a POV from the boat, right? As we always suspect, this is how you should see this audio animatronic, right? Not up close on its face where you see the weird technological aspect of it. So OG, you see this for the first time when we went on D23 weekend. What were your thoughts about this?
Yeah, so you and I were there that D23 weekend with you and me, and we met up with Alan Almighty Coasters, his lovely girlfriend Lexi. It was a great weekend, and it was like my mission. We were hitting all the new stuff that I haven't really been able to check out yet, right? This one in particular is something that like the fans have been complaining about. And again, this is where I feel disconnected sometimes from the fandom. It was fine. For me, it blended in just fine with the rest of the attraction. Mm-hmm. I didn't even think it was too loud with the audio. That was one of the major complaints with the fans. It was too loud. It felt like every other audio track on the ride to me. And again, like, the Imagineering video, like you were saying, didn't do it any favors because the Imagineering video has the Imagineers standing on the show scene with the camera 6 inches from this thing's face, which is not meant. That's not how you're meant to experience this figure. It was never meant to be experienced this close. It was always meant to be experienced from the boat. And from the boat, it was fine, man. It was cool. It was awesome. It was actually kind of impressive. I was like, okay, cool. The face changes. I think that the face, the design of the face is in line with what you see with the rest of the attraction. I have more issues with the Jack Sparrow animatronics than I do how this particular face looks. Jack Sparrow animatronics throughout the ride, like when he's in the village or the little town or whatever, it's like hyper realistic, Johnny Depp, but that's not how the rest of the faces look in the attraction. If you look at the faces in Pirates of the Caribbean, they're more caricatures. They're not realistic, hyper realistic looking faces. They're caricatures. And Jack Sparrow is not a caricature. It's literally a lifelike version of Johnny Depp. And when you have a bunch of caricatures surrounding that, it looks weird. It stands out in a weird way. This actually fits the caricatures of the rest of the attraction. So I was fine with it. And look, everyone has a right to their opinion. The fandom is going to be the fandom, and that's fine. I thought it fit in perfectly. You were saying too that you've been on this many times and you've heard people in your boat even acknowledge how cool it looks and things like that. So the North seem to be okay with it. So I don't know. I'm fine with it, dude.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've seen this probably about 5 times now. And again, each time, because as you see in this video, you'll see this like this his transformation sequence 2 to 3 times depending on when your boat catches it. So, at first, when this first came out, I was like everybody else. I will admit, I saw this and I was like, this looks awful. What is Imagineering doing? The face looks ridiculous. Now, I will say, the pirate himself, right? Disregarding the technology used, the transformation, the pirate himself, I still don't like because he just looks like a goofy looking person compared to the other. Like the other pirates look like a scoundrel, scruffy, gritty, dirty, mean pirates, and he's like this dorky, like pirate. That's the goal, But since seeing the pirate in person, it really did change my opinion on the technology aspect itself and the audio animatronic. It looks way better in person. And actually, I was even telling our good friend Candy Camper, Theme Park Thoughts, shout out, that if I didn't know about the technology used or even seen it from the video that WDI showcased, I probably wouldn't have even known that this was a projection type technology on it. Now, of course, you would think so because how else would you change the face? But if you were just kind of glance at it, not knowing, you wouldn't really tell it's not a projected like thing from where you are at the boat.
You're absolutely right. And if I didn't know any better, if I was a normie going into this experience for the first time, this animatronic fits in better with the rest of them more than the Jack Sparrow stuff. Like I'm telling you, and I keep harping on this, but it needs to be repeated because a lot of fans don't really, mention this, but the Jack Sparrow stuff looks jarringly different than the rest of it. It looks newer. It looks more hyper realistic. This thing feels like it has like an element of that 1960s animatronic, but yet it's still high tech, right? It has a foot in the past, a foot in the future. The Jack Sparrow is just like, let's get Jack Sparrow as realistic as humanly possible. And everything else around him is a caricature and more cartoony. So it was weird, So I agree with you. If I was writing this for the first time, I would think that this was actually here the whole time. I would not think that it wasn't here, that it was new.
Now, look, so you mentioned before, I heard people actually say that this was good. The amount of times I've been on this, every time I heard people look at it, and I heard it with my own ears, behind me, in front of me on the boats, people saying, wow, that's actually pretty cool. Oh, wow, that's cool. And then another ride, someone said, oh, what? That's actually pretty cool. It's not as bad as people are making it out to be, referring to the online, craze that was going on. And look, okay, I know we're past D23. I know D23 was, it was here, but the conversation around this audio animatronic has kind of died off now. There was a huge craze about it, the huge hate. Now it's kind of gone away. And this is why when we talk about Disney and the fandom, right, there is this thing where they shouldn't, like you said, not always listen to the fandom because the fandom just cries about everything all the time.
I completely agree with you, Webba, and that's why I tell the executives, any of the executives that watch my channel or whatever, don't get overly invested into what the fans are saying, because the fans often are mad for like a day and they forget about it. When it comes to like Pandora and things like that, they're all mad and upset. Oh no, we don't want it. And it's going to open, and all of these same people are going to be there opening day and they're going to love it. So you can't get overly mentally married to what these fans are saying, because half the time the fans don't even know what they like half the time. Let's be honest,
Yeah. So OG, before we move on to the next topic here, people, when this first came out, a lot of people were saying that this is going to, without even having been on, people were saying this is ruining the storyline, because you're a vibes guy, right? This is ruining the vibe and the story of what it was trying to tell. For example, we got that new figure with the octopus that it goes from, because when we go down the second waterfall, it's like all the dead pirates as skeletons, and then you get to that guy that's sitting in that thing, and he goes from dead pirate to living pirate, and then to the battle. So a lot of people were saying that's the transition moment right there. You're ruining the story and you're ruining the vibe here with this audio animatronic moving around and making noise. what's your thoughts about that as a vibes guy with the storytelling aspect?
I mean, look, I'm a vibes guy, but I'm not like unrealistic or like super weird about it. Like that is something that like even people who are really like versed in Disney lore and stuff, they're not really even picking up on that. And like that, the animatronic that you're mentioning, that is like the start of like the human characters, right? That's a pretty new figure too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, so it's weird how the fans kind of have this arbitrary thing. Like, so basically that was the new starting point. So that wasn't even like something that Walt did. So it's like, so that's what I'm saying. It's so stupid. Like, it's so stupid that like, okay, so that thing now is like that's the line, right? Well, it wasn't the line before, but now it is. And now that's the thing that we're all going to get mentally married to. That's where it starts. Well, it didn't start there before until recently. And now it starts a little bit sooner on. Who cares? I mean, for me, I don't really care. This whole beginning part where you see these guys going from skeleton to human and all that, it's all very cohesive. And then once you get past like the boat, they're all human. Cool. It's still cohesive. Mm-hmm. I don't see what the problem is, dude. I really don't. I wrote it and I was like, it's a nothing burger. It's fans being fans again. It's kind of like weird to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. But overall, yep, I don't think it ruins anything. So I agree with you. And I think a lot of the, general public are enjoying it. So, yeah. And it's really good. It's really cool too at Disneyland when something goes under refurbishment, like Indy or even like Haunted or this, and then they come back with some like brand new thing that wasn't even announced until like the day of. So it's pretty cool. We get a little bit of magic sprinkled in there. Now, Soji, I got something else here for us. So we also went and did Soarin' Over America. So we have Soarin' over California, Soarin' Around the World. And I actually have a hot take when it comes to this attraction. And then Soarin' Over America. So Oji, let's get this started here with Soarin' Over America. Let me get this up real quick.
Absolutely.
And this is the full. I'm starting it at where the ride begins. POV, courtesy by WDWNT POV and WDW News Today. They have a great POV here. They start from the outside of the queue, go all the way through the ride. But for this video, I just want to kind of go through the ride itself and kind of get, your thoughts on it, and we'll discuss it. So G, we have this starting. I thought this beginning was actually pretty cool, but I actually have, after writing this version though, I have a really hot take, And that hot take is, and people are gonna be so mad, dude. I actually, out of the three versions, I probably prefer Around the World, to be honest.
Wow, that's wild.
And here's why, and we'll see it in this. And I noticed this when I went back and did Soarin' Over California when it came back in like, what was it, May or something, for like that limited time. And, which they do this every year where they bring back Soarin' Over California for a limited time. But when I wrote it, I was like, I actually don't really like this version that much. And it's because of that right there. You see that transition?
Yeah.
Me, when I'm experiencing a Disney attraction, I want some level of suspension of disbelief. I can't do that when the scene just kind of flows right into the next one or bleeds right into the next one. Now, Soarin' Around the World, it has a couple instances of that, but it's mostly done with a lot of kind of something that comes into the screen and you transition somewhere else. To me, that's a bit more believable than just you go from like one scene and bleeds into a whole other different, region or environment somewhere. And this version does that a lot. The Soarin' Over California didn't even do that. It was literally like you're flying and then it goes from like beach to desert, and it's just, or beach to orange groves or whatever, and it's just like cutscene to cutscene to cutscene. And I did not like that transition. I gotta be honest, dude. I didn't like it. At least with Around the World, for the most part, it usually did something comes right in front of you and then boom, you're somewhere else. That to me is a little bit more believable than just seeing chopped scenes in between or bleeded in scenes into one another. But anyways, OG, what say you about around over America? There was a couple cool locations, but the only two I liked, which we pointed out in the ride, was the part with the Grand Canyon and then the snowy mountains. Those were my two favorite parts of this version.
Yeah, for me, I actually really enjoy. Well, I like the beginning, especially for the America version. I love that rocket launch. I think that's really, really dope. I didn't mind this one actually because this one, I feel like this one has less like CGI than World. I don't know. I liked it. I did. I mean, but I get what you're saying though with the transitions because they are very abrupt. It's like, okay, it's this scene and now it's this scene. You know,
Yeah.
Like I kind of wish that like, and even the original Soarin' Over California is like that. Like I kind of feel like there was a little bit more of a creative way to do it. Like maybe you go into like a forest and there's like a bunch of trees that cover the camera. And at the other end of all that tree stuff, you come out in another location, right? Like something, right? Clever ways to sort of get you from one to the next. Where like with this one and even the original, it's basically like you're saying, it's like we're here and now we're here, right? There's no like finesse, you know. And I think there's a way to do it. Like I said, I mean, that was just one example. I'm not an Imagineer. I'm not a movie maker. But I mean, you can get something to kind of cover the lens, and then when that thing moves away, you're in a new location. Like that gives you a transition where it feels a little more natural. And I find it very funny too with this part right here, LA, West Coast. We love our California. I love my California. California's the best, right? But I do find it funny that we got the LAPD helicopter overhead. That's so on brand, bro. So on brand, dude. I love it.
Oh man, that was great. Yeah, I mean, like you're saying, like, you know, all three versions, you know, it's Soarin', right? So I always enjoy the attraction, but in terms of the idea of trying to be, you know, pretending you're flying over this stuff, Around the World just gives a better feeling because, again, there's better transitions. Like when you're going over the kind of safari or the elephants, you know, the elephant sprays up the dirt or dust or dirt, and you fly right through it, and then you're kind of somewhere else, right? Or like a seagull comes, flies right into you, or a plane or a kite goes right into you, and then boom, you're somewhere else. Now, again, Around the World, there was a couple instances, I think only two, where it does that bleed into effects with the transition, and one of those was actually when you're going over like the islands, and you have all the people like on those rafts or canoes, kind of, you know, paddling. But then the bleed kind of makes sense a little bit though, even though I still don't really like it that much, because then it goes over water to over more water and like the big waterfall scene. You know what I mean? So it still kind of at least makes a little bit more sense than going from like a bleed scene of a beach to now you're in a forest somewhere. Like that just makes no sense. Or it doesn't. And the other scene is which I actually don't like even more on Around the World, is when you're at the hot air balloon scene, and then it just goes from like that to like the western desert. That makes no sense at all.
That makes no sense. One thing that kind of bothers me, and this might not bother fans, I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard any complaints, but like Patrick Warburton, I think is how you say his last name.
I'm actually not sure, but
well, our chief flight attendant, Patrick, right? Who I love him as, I mean, he's great. He's Joe on Family Guy, which is awesome, right?
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. Like for me, I don't like I think in this version, and I think it's also in World, if I'm not mistaken, where he is like currently Patrick, like old Patrick.
Yeah.
And then he does like his little spiel, and then it goes into like the old school thing where he's like younger Patrick, kind of telling you about your seatbelt and stuff. I'm like, I don't love that. And it's kind of weird. It's kind of jarring to have both Patricks there like that. I don't know. I get it why they brought him on. It's like it's total fan service. It's also kind of depressing though to see him so old. I don't know. Like I'm just like, this is kind of sad. I don't know. I'd rather not. I'd rather them just either do a whole new intro with old Patrick, where old Patrick is telling the kid, nice work, pal. Have the whole thing old Patrick, or have the whole thing young Patrick. This weirdness where you have old Patrick and then it goes to young Patrick. I don't know. It seems amateur.
Because it's not consistent. And actually, speaking of that, I want your take, OG, is actually, let me get this off real quick. Do you find that putting the older version of him in there kind of takes out the fantasy aspect? And what I mean by that, again, right, we're in a theme park. So we're about immersiveness into a certain idealized story. So when you take a realistic approach, like putting his current self version into the attraction, you're kind of bleeding reality into a fantasy world. Does that make sense what I'm talking about?
No, it does. It does kind of take you out of the whole thing, because you're like, now I'm looking at Patrick today. He's old now. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't love it. I would prefer either, keep the old spiel, or at least be consistent and have old Patrick do the whole thing.
I agree.
I just find it kind of weird, and I get why they have old Patrick on there. It's total fan service, bro. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm just kind of like, I'm not. It's not my favorite. So.
Yeah. Well, OG, there it is with Soarin. So I mean, again, it was fun. I enjoyed it, but I will say my hot take is I prefer Around the World even over California. So
that's fair. And the other thing too is that I think what Disney is doing is they're stacking versions of Soarin' so they can trot these different versions out during different time periods, right? So you can have California during some part of the year, every maybe patriotic season like 4th of July. They can trot out the America one for maybe the whole month of July. They can trot out Around the World for other stuff. They're doing this where they have different versions they can trot out at different times, different seasons, So I can see what they're doing here with this.
Now, before we get on to our last topic here, I want to ask you about this, because I was actually thinking about this when we were on Soarin' over America. And what's your take on the ride system? Because when this thing came out, it was pretty like amazing, pretty revolutionary, right? It's like, holy crap, this is cool, the way it works and stuff. But do you think it is time to maybe create, I don't know how you would do it. I'm not an Imagineer. I'm not a creative, but do you think it's time to find a way to maybe update that style of attraction in like mechanically, or the way it works, or to make it more believable? Like, because I feel there has to be a better way to do this thing. I don't know. It's very dated a little bit.
You're right. It does seem dated. Obviously 3D glasses are not the answer. Although that would be kind of cool, probably, but I don't think that's the way you go. But I agree with you. There needs to be something to kind of update this and kind of bring it into the new age, the new era. Remember, Soarin', I mean, that came out when DCA first opened in 2001. I mean, we're in 2026 now, believe it or not. I mean, it's been 20 plus years, almost 30 years of this attraction. So there's definitely room for an advancement. And maybe once we get, Pandora and Avengers and all that other stuff, maybe they can kind of turn their focus onto Soarin' and kind of update the technology or do something with it, because you're right, it does need something. And I kind of wish they would stay away from, I don't know what it is. When they did World, and even with like the America one, they got into this like CGI stuff. Like, why are we doing CGI? Like, the world, like our planet, like in these various countries are beautiful enough. Like our country, America, is beautiful enough. We don't need to add your CGI grizzly bear, whatever. Like, I don't know why they're doing all that, and it doesn't look believable anyway.
Right. I know. I agree with you. It's you're making a ride based off of like real places. Use the real locations. There's no need to CGI anything. Like, and to me, that's kind of comes out where like they're being cheap and not wanting to spend the actual money to go out and venture out and actually get footage, like actual footage of these real places. Okay, well, that's real places.
Real places. And that's frustrating because Disney bought Fox. a few years ago for $70 billion. And when they acquired Fox, they gained Nat Geo, National Geographic. National Geographic, this is what they do.
Yeah.
This is the whole point, the whole existence of Nat Geo is to do stuff like this, to sort of capture nature and what have you. Why are they not having Nat Geo go out there and get footage for you? I don't understand. Like, why do you need to like CGI this stuff when you have Nat Geo under your umbrella now? This is frustrating to me. I don't know.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point because that's actually a studio network that could be a great partnership between studio and parks. You know,
it would be, and actually that would be if they really want to like. I mean, I wouldn't even mind. I know some fans get all worked up over this, but I wouldn't even mind if Nat Geo is like sort of like promoted or even like maybe like the sponsor for Soarin, because I think that's a brand that really works for that attraction. I see nothing wrong with that. Nat Geo actually would work very well in Animal Kingdom too. I mean, if they want to utilize Nat Geo across the board for Animal Kingdom, that would work really, really well. But you have this franchise that was part of that $70 billion. Utilize it.
And that's a problem. They're not, the only thing they're utilizing is, you know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
But all right, OG. So I want to bring on one last thing, and that is going to be the Mandalorian. So when we went, we also went on the Smugglers Run, and we know that they updated it. We know that they've given I think they've given everybody a little bit more to do, especially the engineers.
Yeah.
They added Mando and Grogu. I thought season 1 and 2 were really good. I love Grogu. He's adorable. I know our friend Jared from Capture the Magic just wants to punt him, like a football. But shout out to Jared. But I love Grogu. Yeah. He's adorable, and I'm glad he's in the attraction. But so OG, before we get started here, I'm going to bring this up. But before we get started, what was your overall what was your expectations going into this?
I mean, my expectations were basically like, I'm expecting the experience to feel less like a video game. I'm expecting it to feel more realistic. I mean, we've updated its Unreal Engine, like the next version, right? I want this to feel more real, right? And I honestly, I think that it accomplished that. I had a really good time on this updated version. I told you on the phone, like the past version felt like Fortnite to me or something. It didn't feel like fully like a real environment. This one did. This one felt more real. They still need to work on, like, there's something about like the laser cannons.
Yeah.
I don't know. That feels still very like gamey to me. I don't know. But when you're just flying and you're going over these planets now, it feels very like, oh, okay, cool. Like it feels like Star Wars, honestly. It's
cool. Here's my problem with the attraction from a experience point itself with the gunner position is that it doesn't make any sense because you are in the Millennium Falcon, right? And if you look at the Millennium Falcon, right, the outside, and even the movies, where are the laser cannons mounted? They are mounted on the top and the bottom. Now, from the ride, at least, it looks like, at least to me, it looks like you're shooting from the sides.
Right.
Pew, 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 pew. So it's like, well, that doesn't really make any sense because it doesn't have laser cannons on sides. It's on the top and the bottom.
What they should have done, and it's too late now, but they should have had because I know it's like a turntable, right? A little behind the scenes magic here, but it's like a turntable, and there's like 3 or 4 pods that and they turn, and you get into the pod, and it turns. You get into the pod, and it turns. They should have done like every other one. Like you had one where it's like the cockpit. The next one is the gunner room. Where you actually get like the gunner, right? So it's like it just depends. Sometimes you'll get the cockpit, sometimes you'll get the room with the gunner. That would have been freaking sick, dude. I mean, but c'est la vie, right? You can't do that now, or maybe you can, but it'd be way too much money. But like, it is kind of weird too how they kind of basically like diminished. like in the movies, it was so cool how like you would have like Han down there or like Finn or whatever, and they would be like shooting like right now you're in the you're basically on Smugglers Run and you're just sitting there with like pushing a button on a panel. It's like, okay, it takes a little bit away from it. It's nothing like the movies.
Yeah, I think would have been cool. This probably would have been more ambitious, but like if you had the cockpit, right, and you took your idea, but you had that attached like underneath the cockpit somehow, and like and both of those moved together as one unit. You know, so like okay. Cockpit, your flight crew engineers, you're on top, and then gunner, you're actually going down on the bottom, and you have a cockpit and you have the gunner, and it moves on the turntable like a one piece or something, you know.
That'd be sick.
You know, like that'd be cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that would have been really, really cool. But overall, though, I mean, I like I told you when we got off of this ride, I was like, okay, that was cool. It was definitely a step up. I will say though, the fact that they can customize this thing now. Right, they had an issue before because of Unreal Engine. You know, the technology was more advanced than that of Star Tours. Yeah, the fact that Mazzy got on stage right at the expo and said we're getting a new Tomorrowland, and now they can customize Smugglers Run and basically do the work that Star Tours has been doing with promoting the various Star Wars movies or shows when they come out. This now Falcon can do that for them. Because there's no timeline, and they can go ahead and do that, and they can customize those scenes. I don't think Star Tours survives very long. I don't know when exactly it's gonna go. I don't know, but there's really no need for it at this point. Like you know, you can kind of do the one selling point for Star Tours was that it was customizable, but now this is. So what are we doing here? And you don't even have Rex in there as the pilot. Rex was the best part. Shout out to Rex, by the way. Rex is the homie. We love Rex. We love Rex. But like he was the best part. And now he's working. He's a DJ over there in Batu. There's nothing really left. There's no really like what's like the plus side of Star Tours right now? Really nothing.
Well, I will give you two plus sides to Star Tours, and I think one of them is correct, probably, but maybe someone can fact check on me. Well, so while we're talking about that, this is brought to you by Mouse Info, and so I just wanted to get like the actual kind of experience here as you're seeing on screen, but I don't know how many pods this attraction holds, but I would think OG. I could be wrong. I would think that even though there's only 4 Star Speeders at Star Tours, I think Hollywood Studios has 6, if I'm not mistaken. That ride still seems to hold more capacity than Smugglers Run. And, you know, and it's just itself, right? Before they did the update, well, I guess it wasn't like an original attraction, but you had the original character with Rex, right? Now we have C-3PO and whatever. But yeah, I mean, the things like what I like about Star Tours is I like that it does have like you can fit a ton of people in there. Each pod here, it's only 6 people. You know. Well, now again, how many pods is that? I don't know.
Well, that's a great point though that you bring up because we know that the new experiences guy Mazzy is real big on that. So that might be the saving grace for Star Tours on the corporate side. Is that capacity? If it can move more people than this one, it's probably safe. And to be fair too, when they dig into this new Tomorrowland, I think Autopia and the submarines are way more at risk than a Star Tours anyway. I said it before and I'll say it again. I still think there's something fishy about them announcing the new Tomorrowland and rushing it. Like, I mean, we do have a deadline in February of 2027 for those new Autopia electric cars. Yeah, it seems awfully convenient that now they want to rush this new Tomorrowland. Do they not want to do the electric cars? Is that the problem, Disney? I don't know. It seems a little weird, but again, I could be reading too much into it. Admittedly, I just feel like there is something to that when you have a deadline and all of a sudden, after 30 years of fans complaining, now suddenly we care about this thing. I don't know. A little fishy, but if they're going to remove anything, it's probably going to be. I think right now on the chopping block would be Autopia, submarines, and the Star Wars launch bay.
I think I at least have I agree. At least out of everything, those would be because I think those are the three biggest wastes of space in my opinion. are all three of those. Buzz still pulls people. I wish it was updated or something else replaced it. Star Tours again still pulls people, but the problem with Star Tours is like what we're watching right here. There's already a simulator Star Wars ride in a Star Wars land, and that's kind of that is an issue. But real quick, OG, so with this attraction is I like that we have, we're going after a bounty, right? Better than some stupid coaxium thing that, which here's saying Hondo, the character, I actually really love Hondo. I watched the whole series of Clone Wars. I think he's a great character. But a lot of normies or even Star Wars, even casual Star Wars fans don't even really know who he is because maybe they haven't seen Clone Wars. Right. So it's like, it was weird to me that they chose Hondo. Okay, he's not he's a great character. But for when you're trying to appease, I guess when they made Star Wars Land, they were trying to appease a hardcore audience. But we always talk about you also have to appeal to the general audience, and that didn't do it, especially with the and stuff. And Hondo was just not the character to choose for that.
Well, it was weird. Yeah, no, you're right, because he's part of. I think Hondo is really part of like the Filoni-verse, the animated stuff. Like that's where he really lives, and like you're right. Most normies don't watch like Rebels and all that stuff. Like that's not what most normies are doing. So it's weird to me that that's the thing they decided to like focus on with this. They made some weird decisions, I'm telling you. And I feel like they're kind of making similar weird decisions with the Infinity Defense going into Avengers Campus. When you and I were at that experiences panel and they said Miss Marvel was like the main character, I guess. Like, really? Like, okay. I mean, I have nothing against her or the young lady that plays her, but like, really though, that's kind of weird. And then like even Captain Marvel and like, I don't know. It was just weird. Like the character choices were really strange.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, really odd decisions overall, right? I mean, we didn't they learn their lesson with Galaxy's Edge and having to go in there and add Han, Luke, and Leia because that was a problem. And you're going to go in there with, the Avengers and add all these characters from the era that you're trying to forget. Remember, even Kevin Feige said that Doomsday is a direct sequel to Endgame. So you're basically like almost like retconning all this stuff in the middle. And then, but you're adding those characters that you're basically retconning into the attraction. Like, why?
Well, and then the other problem too is adding these characters as like a focal point or main characters in these attractions is you're not going to have the attachment to them because they weren't really loved. If the characters weren't loved, how are you going to form that emotional response attachment to them? You're not going to.
No, exactly. And again, like I don't have any problem. Like I'm not one of these people like. I'm not like anti-woke or this, that, and the other. It has nothing to do with that because I know that's people always go to that, right? Nothing to do with that. I'm just saying if you have the lineup here when it comes to the MCU, it is a weird lineup. And I made the same argument with Villains Land when they were talking about doing Emperor's New Groove. I said the same thing. Like if you're gonna do these lands, you need to go with the characters that are the most popular, that make the most sense. So I said it with Villains Land, and I'll say it with Avengers. Like you go for Cap, you go for Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, like the biggies. Miss Marvel is like, I mean, I heard it that show. I think it was a show, right? Was good, but like, it's like Hondo though. Like most people didn't watch it though. That's the problem, right? That's the problem. You know?
Exactly. So I'm glad that we get Mando and Grogu in this really cool stuff. I also love at least in this, so this version we were watching, OG, this is the version we experienced, which is the best Tatooine and Bespin version. So I know there's other destinations. I've been on this twice now, and I've only experienced the Bespin versions. So what was your thoughts on Mando and Grogu in it?
Oh, I love Mando and Grogu in it. I love those characters, and I know our friend Jared doesn't like Grogu. I do like Grogu. Me too. I got my boy Grogu right here. I love him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I love the father-son element of that relationship. I think it's a lot of fun. And Disney has done like a pretty crappy job with milking it. I get it, but like I still love the character. I think he's freaking awesome. He's adorable. And my grandma was a big Yoda fan. So, I mean, Grogu is Yoda adjacent. So I will always love Grogu. But no, I really enjoyed those two characters. I think it was smart of them to add them in here. Honestly, Mando and Grogu are like the most successful, like culturally, the most successful part of the Star Wars, the Disney Star Wars era. They've moved the needle culturally more than the sequel trilogy did, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was a good move. And I think they're going to continue to do that. I mean, obviously, if Starfighter does really well, they'll add that in there. So overall, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with the changes that we get over here on the West Coast, as always, for Galaxy's Edge with, the John Williams score and the land. We got the updated Smugglers Run. We get these like projection mapping shows every now and then. We got the OT characters. We're making moves, and I'm happy to see it.
Oh, actually, you actually, I know we were going to talk about just these three things, but speaking of Galaxy's Edge, though, I don't think we really talked about it. So let's talk about it here. Galaxy's Edge. So they brought out the music for this land, right? And we said it from the very beginning. A Star Wars land needs John Williams Star Wars music to make it feel like Star Wars.
100%.
And then also while we were at Disneyland during the D23, I think it was either Friday or I think it was Friday, we actually ran into those little BD droids. There's 3 of them. And those were fantastic. And I might put a video I took of them in this video, but they were fantastic. They're adorable. I love them. I believe they were first introduced with the Jedi games that recently came out with Cal Kestis, I believe, because he has a BD droid, and it's adorable. Right? I mean, here's the thing: Disney does a really good job with like adorable droids for Star Wars. I mean, R2, BB-8, BD droids, they're awesome. But I was really impressed by one thing. One, it gives a kinetic energy to the land. 2, I was impressed just how autonomous they were.
Yes. No, I agree with you. You and I were watching those little guys for a little while, right? Very cute. They would do their little dance. They would interact with each other. I'm like, these are amazing, 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 amazing. And then we walked over, like off to the right of the Falcon, and you and I got to interact with R2-D2.
Yes.
Which was another great moment. And that was like, oh my God, you're like ripping my heart out. I love R2. He's like, dude, R2 is like, it makes me so mad that Luke gets like all the credit when like R2 was really like the star of the entire saga. Let's be real.
Oh, he was. Absolutely.
Bro, he saved everyone's ass in that whole saga. And he doesn't get any credit for it. And it makes me mad. But I love R2. And I love what they're doing over there at Galaxy's Edge. I think it's great. And I think if they add, like the restaurant would help a lot. I think if they add a third attraction would help a lot. Because remember too that this land was designed to have these things in there. It was designed to have a restaurant. It was designed to have the banthas.
It's a huge land, and the space isn't being utilized.
Exactly. So when they cut those things out, it feels empty. If they would add stuff in, because it's 15 acres that was meant to have a certain amount of stuff in it. When you cut 2 and 3 of those elements out of it, it's going to feel empty, of course. So we'll see. I think that too. Look, we did a video from the hotel, right? Shout out to the Orange Grove Inn. They were amazing. We love Orange Grove Inn over there in Tustin. But we did a video from that, and we were talking about how the expo is very disappointing. But the thing is that it seems like Josh and Mazzy are really listening to fans. So they're listening. So we'll see. We might get more in terms of attractions or something. Maybe that big restaurant. So that's the other thing too. And then, I know we got to go, but like the other thing too is like you and I and your lovely wife, right? We were in Oga's like a year ago.
Yeah.
We walk in and immediately Webba, it was like, all right, you got 45 minutes. You can only order 2 drinks and then you got to go, right? There's a time limit, right?
Yeah.
If you had a restaurant, you wouldn't have that kind of issue. You could actually go into Oga's and enjoy it and absorb the vibes. They time you and they kick you out because they don't have the capacity to keep you for that long. And that's because everyone wants to go and have that cool bar experience. If you had the restaurant it would alleviate some of that stress for Ogas.
No, it would, and I think to make this land officially complete, because again, we have the walk around droids now, we have the original characters, we have the updated Smugglers Run, we got the projection fireworks in there, we have the music in the land. The last two things this land, I believe, to feel complete is a sit down table service restaurant,
yes,
and a third attraction. I think once you add those two things in, that will be a fully fleshed 15-acre completed land.
I agree. And I think Star Wars is a great franchise. I will always say that. I love Star Wars. I think it fits perfectly into Disneyland, even though people say no. I think it touches upon almost every single theme of that park in one land, right? It's a galactic fairy tale. It's honestly, it feels like that one area with the marketplace feels like almost like Galactic Adventureland. It has great music, which Disney is known for. Like, there's so many elements of Galaxy's Edge that feels very Disneyland. It belongs there. It just needs some life, and we're getting there, but we'll see.
Yep. Well, OG, thank you so much for coming on today's episode here on Webcast Citizen. I really appreciate it. And again, this is stuff I want to talk about. It's evergreen, but when these things come out, though, there's an initial fan reaction and then it's silence. You never hear about it again.
No.
Even if it's something like the pirate that people complain about. Like, I haven't heard anything about that since that week out, from fan outrage. Nothing. Right. So it's always fun to talk about these things, kind of, give our viewpoints on with these updated stuff with the park, whether permanent or temporary. But OG, where can everybody at home find you on social media, sir?
Mr. Webba, always a good time talking shop with you, and thank you for having me on Webcast Citizen. You can find me right here on YouTube, Orange Grove 55, talking shop with this fine fella all the time. I'm always doing videos with Mr. Webba. You can find me right here on YouTube, Orange Grove 55. You can find me on Instagram and on X, Orange Grove 55.
Well, everybody, there it is, and thank you so much for watching. Comment below if you disagree with any of us, or what's your thoughts on the pirate, the Soarin' Around America, and my hot take on Soarin', and just Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and Mando Grogu. Let us know, and we will see you next time. Have a good one.